It is 406 AC. White Hun raiders are galloping during the night. Their target is the sleeping little town near the Roman border. The Huns are all skilled warriors, born in the saddle, deadly with both spear and bow. The town is home to mostly artisans, some merchants, and the recently built church. Very few lights are visible. In one of the houses, a baby is crying through the night. The other source of light is coming from the guard post near the town border. Its size is small. It can house maximum 5 to 6 soldiers. Easy picking, or so it seems for the Huns. They have 100 warriors with them. They will dispatch the outpost fast and then massacre or enslave the defenseless town. They will plunder the little town mercilessly. Hiding is no longer necessary. They sound horns and charge the little outpost. Let their victims tremble in fear before they butcher them. Just as they are about to reach the guard post, a figure steps out of the building, the first victim. At that moment, a stream of flame erupts out of the figure. Horses and their riders scream in pain and shock. Some of the raiders throw themselves to the ground to extinguish the flames, but it keeps burning. The raiders are stunned. In the light of the flame, they can see the figure clearly. It is the most heavily armored soldier that they have ever seen, covered in overlapping plates and carrying a metal backpack with a tube, the source of the inextinguishable flame. Before they can gather themselves, the legionnaire fires again. The stream of flame covers the distance in a heartbeat, and another pair of warriors meet their fiery doom. Similar figures emerge from the guard post. The raiders panic. They have just witnessed something that they have never even imagined in their worst nightmare, the full might of a steampunk Roman Empire. Obviously, this is fiction. The Roman Empire never industrialized. But the strange thing is that it had all the components for it technologically. The principles of steam technology, including the first steam engines, were available. The Romans could also build complex mechanical inventions, such as vending machines. They could also rely on centuries of Greek knowledge. Anybody doubting the technological prowess of the empire just have to take a look at the numerous construction marvels that they have left to the following centuries. So what prevented the spread of technology? Let's look first inside a company as a smaller organization. When the question is, what are the main aspects that need to be considered for the adaptation of innovation, the following aspects usually come up. What are the company's resources? Does it have the necessary capital, quantity and quality of resources to adopt? What are the internal processes and structures? Are they compatible with new processes? What is the culture of the company? Is it something that is striving for innovation, or rather it is something that is determined by tradition? Finally, what are the interests of the key stakeholders? When an organization needs to adapt new technologies, it is not likely that all of these aspects will align. Therefore, it is common practice for IT companies in the B2B world to not only sell the product and its implementation, but also consulting and change management as well. Literally, the organization needs to be re-engineered to be able to adapt. Unfortunately, an entire society cannot be just easily modified. And going back to the possibility of steampunk Roman society, it was not feasible, as ancient Rome lacked the key elements that would allow industrialization. First, the resources. Industrialization requires a very special situation within demography. There must be a large young workforce that can be redirected to factories from other sectors, but at the same time, the demand for new labor must exceed the amount of available workers, leading to automatization. Rome never had the efficient agriculture and food supply chains to allow such a thing. Contrary to this, during the Age of Discoveries, Europe made huge leaps in agricultural productivity, leading to large available young workforce. At the same time, the newly conquered colonies made sure that there was a constant high demand for labor. The second element missing were stable and reliable institutions. The Western Roman Empire never had a form of universal taxation system, and the legal code that we call Roman law was codified only after the fall of the Western Roman Empire during the reign of Justinian I. The third element regarding culture is debatable. Ancient Rome was indeed open to new innovations. It did not have the novelty craze that was prevalent in Europe after the Renaissance, but it would not have been a blocker either. Finally, regarding personal interest. Roman society was extremely unequal, even for its time. It did have a middle class, but it did not have sufficient political and financial power to actually matter. Meanwhile, the people at the top were so extremely rich that they had very little interest in new approaches. Their wealth was tied to political status, not to market forces. Any form of major innovations would have been rather disruptive than beneficial. On this last point, it is also interesting to reflect on how oligarchies and autocracies treat innovations. Usually at the very beginning of these regimes, innovation is supported. Contrary to democracies, autocratic regimes can muster limited resources in a much more efficient manner. That is why the Soviet Union could send a man to space earlier than the United States. However, all autocratic regimes have very rigid power structures, and they suppress everything that can be viewed as a challenge toward established order. Nazi Germany could build tanks, as the basic science for it was developed before its existence, but could not have built the atom bomb, which would have required Jewish science. On the long run, all autocratic regimes fall behind in innovation. So the legionnaire with the flamethrower was impossible. But the lesson it teaches us across many centuries is that if humanity wants to advance, we have to care not only how much money is poured into technological development, but also to constantly adapt our society to make use of it.